Hi, Sambik here. If you are listening to this video or watching this video, you are probably very frustrated with your Godox Flash. I was in your shoes about a week ago. I just recently bought the Godox TT685c for Canon, for my Canon 90D camera. And when I put it on my camera, first of all, it didn't flash, it didn't fire all the time. I pressed some buttons and they didn't do what I expected. So after several days of Googling and reading and this and that, I think I finally figured it out, and I just wanted to explain what I figured out to you so that you don't have to spend the hours and hours that I just spent trying to figure this thing out. And I'm not going to do an unboxing because I've already unboxed the Flash, but this is the package. What I'll talk about at the end is, what do these things do that you get in the package, these sticky things? And then what the heck is this thing? And then what's that? Well, I will cover that at the end. So, here's the Flash. First thing that you do in terms of the buttons. So, number one, if you look at the Flash here, you'll see that you've got this plastic thing. If you pull up this plastic thing, it pulls up, and you've got this white card. That white card allows light to reflect forward, and you've got this plastic thing. If this plastic thing is not pushed all the way down, it's got to click, it's got to push all the way down, then one of your buttons on this Flash is not going to work. Your leftmost button that sets the manual zoom distance will not work if this plastic thing is not pushed all the way down. So that's point number one, make sure that's pushed all the way down. Now when you change button 1 and you're changing the manual distance, you can change it to be to go from A to M, so it's auto. So that means that when you change the camera lens distance, the distance on the Flash should change. And for me that didn't work until I saw some Google YouTube video. Until you do that, that has to be pushed all the way forward, and then that auto thing will work. So that's number two, make sure that's pushed all the way forward. Okay, the other thing that you want to make sure of is that you've got the latest firmware installed in your Flash. And there's a button, I'll link in the comments as to how to figure out. You press a couple of buttons and it tells you the firmware that's installed on the Flash. And I'll link in the description below how to get that, that firmware number. But if it's not the latest firmware version, and you can go to the Godox website and see what the latest firmware version is, then it's probably best to upgrade. I know that as of now, which is July 2020, the latest upgrade, which was done in 2019, makes the Canon SLR3 work. I believe on the Canon SLR3, in the hot shoe on the top of the camera, one of the pins is not there, and version 3.4 of the firmware makes that work. But even if you've got a later Canon, it's probably best to get the latest firmware. So that in itself was a multi-hour activity. Go to the Godox website, download the software which interacts with the Flash module to get the firmware onto the Flash. Now that software downloads a driver, a device driver for the Flash onto your computer. Now, at least for me and for a good number of other people, that device driver didn't work right away. There was an error message saying no connection to the device driver. And for that, what you need to do is, and I'll link this below, I'll put this below in the description as well, I've got it written here. You need to disable the driver signature enforcement on Windows 10. So I guess that Godox device driver doesn't have a driver signature something, and you need to disable that. And I've got a temporary, just like 3 steps to disable that signature enforcement. Is when you're booting up Windows, you press the shift key and then you press the restart button. And anyway, Windows 10 gives you the option to disable that temporarily, and then the next time you restart Windows, it doesn't get disabled. And that works for me. Just one point though, that if you're using a laptop and you've got your laptop hooked up to external keyboards, etc., do use the laptop keyboard when you're pressing the buttons that I'm going to talk about in the description below. Don't use the external keyboard, because when you're in the restart process, the external keyboard is not going to work. You've got to use the laptop keyboard. All right, so that's that. So we've updated the firmware. I've got my cheat sheet here. We've updated the firmware. We know what we're doing with this plastic thing. We've moved that forward. Oh, flash hot shoe contacts could be dirty. So what you do there is, and for me, I didn't know if mine were dirty or not. I mean, they looked okay, whatever, I didn't know. So what you do is you take an eraser for a pencil, take an eraser and rub the eraser over the hot shoe pins on your camera, and also on here, although I didn't do it on here. But anyway, you take the eraser and that should clean off some dirt. I also found on the web that if you take some alcohol and put it on a Q-tip, just a small bit of alcohol, and rub that takes off the dirt. Anyway, I did that. And then I put my flash in, and it still wasn't firing. For me, when I went to my camera flash option, it kept saying TTL. It didn't say ETTL, which I know it should say. It said TTL. So what I did was I went into the Canon 90D, the first menu tab on the Canon, and then go to Flash function. And out of frustration, I guess, I just clicked on Clear All Settings. I cleared all the external flash settings and all the internal flash settings, or I set them to default, and then it worked. I think that was just the problem all along for me, just clearing the settings, which I did in the end, and then that worked. So now I have what I think is a working flash. Everything's working as expected. Now, when you open the box, you get these things. What the heck is that for? I'm no expert or even intermediate photographer, so I don't know what this is. So what I figured out is, and then you get this little slip here with colored pieces of paper in called gels. Well, what you do is you put a gel in here in this clear plastic. Then you wrap this thing. There's a white piece of paper there. You take that off and make it stick. Then you wrap this thing around the flash, and then you can put this, or put it that way. You put this on the flash, and then you've got your colored paper here. And that's how you get a colored light. So that's that. What this is a diffuser. You just go like that and it spreads out the light. And that's that. And then, what the heck is this thing? And I see you get different colors. Well, as far as I saw in one Google post, it's a gift. It's just a light, and I actually tried it. I put it in a charger, and this thing lights up. If I were you, I wouldn't put this in your computer. But anyway, I just put it in a charger and it does light up, so I guess it's a light. That's it. If you want me to go into something else more in depth, then just put a comments below. If you've had any value in this video at all, if you could press the like button and subscribe to the channel. My channel is nothing about photography. It's going to be about how to be a consultant, how to step up your game. So if you're interested in that, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Oh, and one more thing as well. I'm looking at some courses on LinkedIn Learning. I'm not sponsored by LinkedIn Learning, but I'm just letting you know that I found a course on there. If you search for photography and then look for the course that talks about the Canon Speedlight. So basically Godox and the functionality is essentially very similar or a copy of the Canon Speedlight functionality. So I found that course really useful, and the teacher goes into a lot of detail as to how to what it means with the auto ETTL focus thing and diffusing of light, and it was actually pretty useful for me. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you have much success with your Godox Flash, and until the next time.